You rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, in that case, we'll just put those on later.
Was that pants?
Start off today with some announcements. We've got a new shirt in. It's not exactly a nerd shirt, but it is kind of a shirt that's in line with a lot of things that we talk about because the two-party system is ridiculous. So we got George Washington here. Send you a prayer cloth if you guys buy this shirt. It'll all go to paying my car payment. The Lord needs my car.
Jesus will repair the levee if we get to 10,000. He was a carpenter after all.
So that's our new shirt there. And this is like high quality 1 million count cotton fiber thing. No, not really, but it's like the highest quality shirt that we could possibly get, even higher quality than like the American Apparel stuff. And it's an asphalt color. It should go nice with anything, okay? That's the new shirts. And you know what? A lot of people have been asking me about the old shirts. I never even really talk about this. If you guys want to get straight to the store, just go to epicpants.com and that'll take you straight there. Epic Pants. We got some posters coming in soon, but that's our regular shirts are on there, like the WASD and F5 for Jesus Quick Save, all that stuff. So that's where those shirts come from. I wear them and people keep emailing me. I'm like, you guys know that these are our shirts. And like, where did you get that, dude? Oh my God. It's like, well, we made it. So yeah, go get it. Why don't you? Let's talk about the hurricane. The entire area that I lived in, which is, I always lived 30th Street or below, is pretty much just gone right now, off the grid. That is not just like wiped away, but like tons of damage to the subway system. They said indefinitely suspended, so that's all crazy. And I called one of my friends today, and we were talking. He lives on 30th Street. The power's on from everything from 31st all the way up to the top of Manhattan. And he's like, dude, it is so cold at nighttime. I'm sitting here just holding my cat, and my cat's angry, doesn't want to be held, so... Yeah, that's kind of funny, but he's on 30th, right where the cutoff point is. One thing that's interesting right now is Time Warner. Good guy Time Warner. They've got mobile Wi-Fi hotspots and spots where you can charge your phone. So that's really cool. Of Time Warner, I mean, I know they're doing a lot of evil things right now, but I'm going to go ahead and give them props for this. You can go on their Twitter page, which is twcable_NYC, and follow them around town. And that's what they're doing. I think it's pretty cool. One thing's interesting, this article just came out and it got me to thinking, because most people, they keep Adblock turned on. And tech websites have the highest ratio of users that use Adblock. And I want to thank you guys because as soon as we mentioned, like, take off Adblock, our revenue immediately went up. And I'm like, oh my God, we can eat. This is awesome. We can like actually eat instead of having like a protein shake or something. We can have real solid food. It's awesome. So you guys are amazing for turning off Adblock. Thank you very much. The article was entitled, Why is Adblock Suddenly So Popular? And I'm going to kind of ignore most of what this journalist has been saying, and I want to talk about an email that I recently received. The guy said the reason he uses Adblock is because ads have started to get so annoying. Like you go to a website, it takes over the entire page, or it puts something in the middle that you have to either close or click on before it goes away, or it starts yelling at you, or it pops out at you, or when you hover over top of something, like the text bubble pops up. We don't do any of that stuff, and we never will, ever. If a marketing company calls and says, hey, we want to do pop-up ads, which happened, a marketing company called and said, hey, it's like the link ads. It turns all kinds of things on your website into link. When they hover around, things pop up. And I was like, you know what, go murder yourself, or I will do it for you. That's what I told them. So I just want to let you guys know that that's what's going on with Adblock, and thank you guys for turning it off. Now let's get down to the news, shall we? Wendell, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm alive.
Yes, we are alive down here in Kentucky. The Nexus 7 has been selling 1 million units per month, Asus says. That's the Asus CFO. That's a lot, especially when you consider, like, iPad mini is out right now.
And it just came on the heels of Google's Nexus 10 announcement and the new no-contract $300 Nexus phone.
And that's only on GSM right now, right?
Yep. The display resolution on the new Nexus 10 actually bests the iPad 3, iPad 4 Retina display. Retina display is 2048 by 1536. The Nexus 10 is going to be 2560 by 1600.
Great pixel density.
What they've done with this 2560 by 1600 is double the resolution in both directions, which is what Apple did when they went from 1024 by 768. They just doubled it in both directions for the iPad Retina.
Speaking of iPads and Nexus tablets and that sort of thing, check out what we got. Look what has surfaced. A wild surface has appeared. There it is. I'll put it right over here so you guys can just stare at it. There it is, the Surface.
It's kind of neat, but...
It's the Tegra version right there. It's not the i5 or whatever.
Yeah, the i5's not out yet. I'd love to play with the i5. If they want to send us one, we'll totally take a look at it.
Yeah, I would like to take a look at it. I do like the keyboard a lot. I'm kind of getting used to the keys. As far as the whole Windows 8 OS, for a tablet, it feels more at home. It definitely feels way more at home here on the tablet, and I like a lot of things you can do because you can get to the Windows desktop, and you can get to device manager, you can get to the task manager. So there's a lot of that functionality built into it. It's still completely nerfed compared to the x86 version because you can't run the standard Windows applications. You can only run stuff that you get in the store. So that's something that I don't like that much, but it's not a real version of Windows, of course.
The mail client is a little bit clunky for Exchange, but
yeah,
it's just because we got a lot going on the Exchange side of things.
Yeah, and you said there's not a what am I looking for? There's not a
an SSH client. Yeah. I would love to have an SSH client. The remote desktop client that's built into the OS. There's also a store version that makes it all Metro-y. It's really good for like remote desktop. This is a really incredible machine.
So that's handy at least. Okay, the elections are coming up pretty soon, so you guys should get one of those t-shirts. You guys really, really need to get out there and do something about this. I'm not going to go on about it too much because I don't want to get political. But there's a link here that I want to share with you guys, and I found this on Reddit, so thanks to everybody on Reddit for posting this. Just remember who voted for SOPA and PIPA and who was part of the one of the co-sponsors. So there are 55 supporters and co-sponsors, and this link will let you know. Just print it out and take it with you and vote for the opposite. There's also a report card website that's like a, I don't know, I guess it's a report card for different politicians. If you guys can find that online, I couldn't find it. I was pressed for time, I suppose. So just find it and put it in the comments, and I'll throw a link in the description. But there's a report card out there. That's how you guys should vote. I think they should do something. I think they should ask some really basic questions about America when you vote, like, who was the first president? What are the colors in the flag? Like 3 or 4 of those, and if you get those wrong, you can vote, and it says thank you, and then when you walk away, your vote's just like into oblivion. You're like, doesn't count. Because I don't think George Washington and the Founding Fathers ever intended for, like, people who have no idea what's going on to vote. I don't think they ever intended that to happen. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I think that it's probably true that people that have no idea what's going on are more easily swayed by mass media. And that's perhaps the dangerous combination they weren't anticipating.
Yeah, it was when I was living in Miami, their political shirts looked like rock concert shirts, and they would wear them up and down the street, and I would stop them in the street and be like, dude, you there, you've got an Obama shirt on. Can you tell me what Obama voted for the sending contractors to Iraq? Yes, no, what did he vote? And they'd be like, what? Never mind, kind of keep walking. Speaking of things that are scary, Anonymous has attacked Zynga. They're really upset about all the programmers that have been mistreated at Zynga, so now they've made Zynga their enemy. And you guys can read about that, but I'm going to move on. Facebook wants to be Craigslist. Right now, you guys, if you're on Facebook and you got a Facebook account, you're not really a member of that site. You're more of a resource to them. They see you as a member, of course, but they're like, hey, these guys are resources. So it's going to be classified ads on Facebook, and they're going to be paid classified ads. So just look forward to that in the near future.
Why not Craigslist? Because it's like, oh, you can sell something to your friends. No, I want to sell shit to random people.
I got to meet a guy on Craigslist. We were selling something, and this is totally worth leaving Facebook and going to Craigslist. The guy's name was Thorpe Shuttleworth. And we showed up, and this guy, he's about 5 foot and stocky, He gets out of his car, and he's like, good evening, I am Thorpe Shuttleworth. Wearing, like a suit jacket and flip-flops. Good evening, thank you very much for the transaction. I was like, that was Thorpe Shuttleworth right there, friend.
I once bought it. I needed a piece of esoteric hardware, so I put a wanted thing on Craigslist. Mm-hmm. And
you meet somebody weird that way.
Yeah, I met somebody weird, but he was like 13 years old. But he had like some esoteric mainframe part, and it was like, that's interesting. Can you meet me at McDonald's? And I was like, okay, sounds good. 13-year-old kid comes out, and it's like, huh.
Wow. Have you heard of isanybodydown.com? This is kind of messed up, and I want to raise attention so we can get our torches and pitchforks. So isanybodydown.com is a website. They go online, and they try to find pictures of you, or they go offline. They go anywhere they can, and they find nude or compromising photos of you, unflattering photos that should not be published to the web, and then they somehow publish them to the web. They link them to your name. They link them, if they can find your address, they'll link them to your address and your personal information, your phone number if they've got it, and your Facebook page. And then you're going to get a call from an attorney. You'll get a call from David Blade, and he'll basically tell you, we'll take this down. I'm a legal attorney that protects your rights on the internet. So we can take this down, and it's only like a one-time fee of $250. What do you want to do? Want to take it down? Now, here's the funny thing. Somebody decided to do a Who Is on both David Blade's website and on isanybodydown.com. This is after they looked up David Blade and found out that he was absolutely not a lawyer. So guess what they found? the same damn person owns both websites.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and publish that information online, and you guys can do anything to them that you want.
That's not true at all. We can't encourage that.
No, I mean as in like you guys can read you guys can read it. and not DDoS attack them, and not publish any information that you may find by looking up, looking deeper into this, and not go to their place of work and do anything terrible. Yeah, there's the guy right there. Mm-hmm. Who's this owned by? I don't know. It's in France. How about that? Do we have any French viewers? Please. Torches, pitchforks, and whatnot. Speaking of torches and pitchforks, we're getting into more bad news here. I'm looking ahead. Okay, we got some good news this week coming up. So we'll keep going through the bad news now while we can. The Kremlin has released their new internet surveillance plan. Now, this one is fun because it was developed for China. Who developed this thing? Is it like China developed it for China?
Yeah,
or is it
turns out that it's like a who's who of American companies. And it's like, oh, we're going to develop this for China. This will never be used in America or any other countries. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yes. Well, here's the funny thing. A lot of these countries, they look at America and they're like, well, what's America doing? Well, their internet's free and open and all that stuff. And they're like, well, we're Russia. We should, make sure that we follow that example. So our internet's going to be open and free. Then all of a sudden they're like, what's America doing? Oh, well, now we can do what we always wanted to do and lock down the internet. So here's what's going to happen. They can monitor everything you do on the internet. Now, that's just one part of it. They can watch everything you do in real time. That's fun. They can also cache websites and edit those cached websites and serve you that page instead of the original page. So you may get a totally different Facebook or a totally different article, or if I write an article, instead of blocking me, of which of course they're blocking lots and lots of websites, instead of blocking me, somebody sitting over there in their office can be like, let me just change a few things here, and Putin has nice hair, not bad hair, we'll change that, and then publish that page to the internet, and that's what you're going to be served when you call up our website.
Welcome to Google.com, written by Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
Awesome programmer, happy times.
Let's talk about Megaupload. We always talk about Megaupload. This time we're not going to talk about Kim.com just yet. We're going to talk about one of the guys. We've talked about him before, Kyle Goodwin. He had a bunch of footage from his athletics team or whatever, high school, football, softball, I forgot what it was. Anyway, he's got all this footage. He had it on Megaupload, and that was the only copy that he had, and now he can't get to that footage, and he really wants it. So he's got the EFF, and they got some lawyers, and they've been demanding this footage back, and they've been going to court for it, and right now what's happening in court is that, well, I'll give you guys what's really happening. Here's the truth of this thing. If this goes through, there's going to be like 60 million people in line right behind Kyle Goodwin saying like, oh, my stuff? How about my stuff? Oh, how about my stuff? So if they say yes to him, they're going to have to say yes to everybody.
It looks like what they're saying is that they can go through any cloud stuff. And that's been,
right.
That's been consistent with, there was a ruling at a federal level a while back that was the feds can go through your email if it's still on the server, even if it's in the cloud.
Well, that's the thing that I've left out just now was that, yes, they can look through anything they want, but they can't let them look through it like the public now.
Well, it sounded almost like the Department of Justice was saying that they found and went through his files.
But we won't give them to him.
But it's like, you found private files that are not connected to this court case, and you went through them? If this was physical goods, that would be like top of the list no-no.
All right, Mega. So here's what's up right now if you go to kim.com/mega. Now, he's doing something interesting this time. He's going to make it very difficult for there to be any raids. We talked before about him, spreading out his cloud servers, but now the new idea is that you are hosting the cloud servers, and you can go on to Mega right now and sign up to have, your own, I guess, node. You can become a hosting partner right here. Now, there are some requirements. Let me just scroll down and show you what the requirements are. The server specs. You have to have 20 terabytes of disk space. You have to have a good RAID controller. You need at least 1 gigabit per second uplink, and 2 is preferred. And they prefer you have Linux as well. I guess Linux is a requirement. They don't prefer it. You have to have Linux. So that's interesting. What do you think is going to happen with this? If they just spread the cloud out everywhere and there's private people hosting it, is the government going to start attacking those individuals?
The government's totally going to go nuke it from orbit. Oh my God, nuke it from orbit. It looks really good, but it also looks really bad.
Yeah, the government's just going to attack anyone who, sets up a server.
Yeah, I think their assumption is that it's going to be not legit from the start, but honestly, I mean,
it's a great idea.
Is there a problem maybe with the laws if 80 or 90% of the citizenry are doing all these vastly illegal things with their quote-unquote digital lockers?
Yeah.
I mean, is that the problem here? Is the problem society and not
Things must stay the way that they always were, and if anything changes or new technology happens, we must destroy it. Seen the time?
Rant 30.
As a matter of fact, it is Rant 30, and guess who we're talking about today?
Apple?
Scumbag Apple.
We always say we're not going to talk about it, but they get increasingly more bizarre with all the stuff that they're doing. It's almost like they're losing their mind.
Yeah, well, first off, I just got an email, and I want to read this real quick because it's interesting. This is in regard to this article I wrote today, and I agree with him in some, in some...
On some level.
Some level, yeah. He says, we get it. You don't like Apple's legal practices. I read your article, and you sounded like an angry child. You're not changing any opinions. You're just pandering to people who already agree with you. If you think their actions are bad for the industry, explain why. And he also goes on to tell me, why don't you just write blog posts instead of news posts?
Well, that's why we did the Apple invention video, because it's like a lot of people are of the opinion that Apple invented all this stuff, but that's not really the case.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm delivering the news here, and I'm also coloring it because it's my freaking website to do whatever I want. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But here is where we're going to report on what Apple is doing. And if you're an Apple fan out there, I don't hate you. I'll give you a big bear hug, okay? Me and you bear hug it out. But your company here is doing some scumbag things. So let's talk about what they've done that's kind of scumbaggy. So the High Court of England and Wales ruled that Apple had to make sort of a public apology and post a link on the main page of their website that goes to another page that's on their website that states that Samsung did not infringe on any of their design patents. So here's what Apple did. Instead of doing that, they said, well, the courts in England said that, Samsung was not infringing. However, the courts in England also said all these nice things that our devices were superior and it was difficult to tell them apart because, it was easy to tell them apart because ours were obviously better. So they said all those things and they highlighted nice things that the court said about them. And then they went on to cite the verdict in the USA and the verdict in Germany where Apple actually won. And it really just, the way they said it came off as being almost condescending or...
almost condescending?
Well, yeah, very condescending, but sort of like demeaning, toward the high court. That's the way I read it. When I read it, I was like, wow, that's really nasty. What they said was like, it's almost like, wow, look how stupid this court is. Because these other courts over here, they ruled in our favor, but this one's a moron. So that's the tone. You guys can read it for yourself and make your own decisions. I'm not going to come over there and tell you, what to think, but it's kind of ridiculous. The courts are not having it, though. They're like, Apple, what the hell? You have 2 days to change this. Apple comes back and like, oh my, it'll take us at least 2 weeks, to write 3 paragraphs.
Yeah, the judge was just basically like, no, this is not legit. This is not a legitimate apology. So maybe the judge will send Apple to bed without any supper. I don't know.
What are you going to do to them? And they're like the biggest bully in the playground. They've, like they're the one who like way overdeveloped, and it's just like over there breaking everyone. At this point, they used to go steal all the fire engines, and now they're just over there breaking them all. They're like, you can't have it. Here's your fire engine back. That's what you get. Was mine, but I said it was mine, and now you can have it.
I'd say in time, when people aren't quite so enamored with Apple and these court cases wind their way through the court again in the other countries, that it's not going to turn out that way.
Well, Apple has been losing their edge as far as innovation goes, and there was even some articles that came out today, opinion articles, of course, that say that Apple has really been losing the innovative edge, and right now that they've been making a lot of money in this last year thanks to the iPhone 5 and that sort of thing, but they've not been making money because of innovation. They've been making money because of their name and because they're Apple. Well, how long is that going to last?
They did actually spend, their financial report showed that they came out and they spent $1 billion more on R&D than they did last year. So
that's true.
That sounds like a lot, but it's still not a third of what Microsoft does.
Let's put it into like a percentage of what they make. They spent an extra $1 billion this year, and you're like, oh, that's a lot, but they also made a lot more money. The actual percent of the revenue that they spend on R&D is 2.2%, and that has not changed at all. So they're not spending any more. Now, when you look at like Google, Google spends 15%, and so does Microsoft. And look who is innovating right now. I'm not sure if I call this an innovation. No, this is kind of a Me Too product with a few cool features. So I'm not sure what Microsoft has been doing with that 15%.
Yeah, the iPad 6 or 7 is totally going to have a magnetic accessory connector. For
yeah,
sure.
We saw that on the Nexus first, though.
Yeah, we did.
So that was more Google Asus.
Yep.
So I'm not sure where all the money that Microsoft has is going, but we can see where all the money that Google has is going, and they innovate like 10 times more than they should for the amount of money that they're spending.
They're definitely the smartest guys in the room.
Yeah, and they're playing the long game too. So That's kind of interesting when you look at it that way. So Apple is still spending the same percentage-wise. And this is one other thing. Amazon is doing this on their website. They are just calling out Apple. So where I want to go with this is like, Apple has been pissing off a lot of people. Samsung canceled their contract for screens, so now they're going to have to rely on LG and a few other companies. Maybe not Sharp anymore because Sharp's about to go out of business. They just announced that today. And then you've got companies that, Amazon, a huge company that sells products from Apple. You know, you can go to Amazon and buy Apple products if you want. Calling out Apple on their website, posting a quote from Gizmodo that ends with, "You're cramming a worse screen in there, charging more, and accusing others of compromise." Ballsy. That's on Amazon.
Well, in fairness, the resolution problem is not a recent problem.
Right.
It's because they chose a crappy resolution for the iPad 1. All those applications are designed for that resolution, and
You've got that many, like 1 million applications or whatever. It's hundreds of thousands, but
yeah, so if they'd chosen a more appropriate resolution for the original iPad, they wouldn't be having this problem. But they totally really didn't have a choice.
Well, it makes me feel like they don't have a long-term plan. Like, do they know what they're going to be making in 5 years? They always used to do that. I mean, they always used to have a plan. But right now, I feel like they're scrambling and pushing things to market before they're ready, which they've never done before. Steve Jobs would have a fit if they released something that was not perfect.
There are a lot of analysts that say the iPad Mini is more for the education market so that they can buy them for students.
Yeah.
But there was that case last week or the week before where the school system took out a 40-year bond to buy iPads for everybody, as if, iPads are an asset that will last 40 years. Each iPad will, with the interest on that, each iPad will have cost about $2,500. At that point, I wept for humanity.
They could probably buy each student a Daewoo car. They still make Daewoos? Okay, like an original Volkswagen or something. I don't know. So Apple has trouble with Motorola and Google as well.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole lawsuit going on.
Turnabout is fair play.
Over some Motorola patents. And Apple really, in this one, they don't have anything. Usually they can BS their way and drown people in paperwork, but this is freaking Google, okay? And it's Motorola, and the patent is legit. So Google was asking for $2.50 for every phone that Apple has sold with their technology. And Apple came back, and they said, well, how about this? Now they're trying to settle. They want to give Google $1 per phone.
But $1 per phone from today.
From now on, we don't want
to think about those old phones.
Yeah. No, let's just let that. We made a lot of money on that. Let's not worry about that. They've got enough money to just make this all go away if they just paid what they owe.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting to be on the other side of that table, huh, Apple?
Yeah, it is.
$1 billion.
They could just pay it and be done with it. I mean, but they won't. So what's going to happen, I think, is that Google is going to say, "Screw you, dude. Let's go to court and let the judge decide." And it'll end up being a bigger verdict against them if they're not careful. So they need to actually, shut the hell up and do the right thing.
Between Google and Samsung, Apple is making a lot of enemies.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And that's really what I'm worried about. Can they survive in a world if everyone out there hates them? And that's what they're doing right now, and they need to stop. I want Apple to be like the Apple that I grew up with.
Well,
I used to love Apple.
Here's something to think about. It's think about the old Windows handheld.
Yeah.
If we had the architect or the designer that we have today, if we had the mindset that we have today, there's no reason that a really good programmer on those old platforms could not do something approaching a modern smartphone. That tells me that hardware has way far outstripped software.
Right.
And that software is just playing catch up. And we need visionaries like Steve Jobs to put it together. And
he'll look at all the different ingredients and say, "Oh my God, we take this and we make it this certain piece of software that does exactly what I want, and then everyone else will want it."
Yeah. But Apple is very interesting in that they pierce the bureaucracy internally, I think. And I don't know that Google or Microsoft had mastered that sort of pierce the bureaucracy. I mean, with the Surface, honestly, even as neat as it is,
right,
it's on Ballmer's head. He's gone. He's done.
You think so?
Yeah, Ballmer has got.
That'd be great for Microsoft. That'd be the best thing that could ever happen to Microsoft right now is get rid of Ballmer.
Yeah, honestly, I think the reason Bill Gates retired when he did is because he didn't want to fire Ballmer. Ballmer's a great guy. He's, he helped Microsoft. He did a lot of stuff for Gates.
He got that 80s marketing thing going.
Yeah, he did but he's gone. He needs to retire.
Yeah. I'm looking at Microsoft's website right now. It's kind of funny. I think that the Microsoft website now looks more modern than the Apple website. Look at all these gradients and stuff from several years ago. They're still doing the same thing they've been doing for years, which is fine. It's really clean and minimal. But I seriously think this Microsoft website it looks even more modern to me. Look at this.
If all the smart people weren't already working for Google,
Yeah. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about the open wireless movement, shall we? Now, this is something that the EFF has been pushing. There's openwirelessmovement.org, and there's 9 other companies that are behind this. And the idea here is that, now that everyone's trying to lock down the internet, let's just open it up. And if we have millions of people that open up their Wi-Fi connections, get their routers, just open them up, take the password off, let other people use your Wi-Fi connection, share with all your friends. It's going to be really difficult to tell what's going on, and then it's going to bring access to all kinds of people who didn't have access before. Now, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of this from our perspective, and then let you guys talk about it, and we'll all get together and just have a nice cup of coffee and chit-chat. First off, the way this works is you have your router. You can set up a separate guest network. A lot of the newer routers, like the Cisco's and some of the new D-Links, do this. If you have DDWRT installed on a router or anything like that, that all does it. You can set up a separate section of your router that's a guest network. You have your own private one that's locked. And you give them access to almost nothing, and you can even limit their bandwidth, but you give them guest access. And you name that openwireless.org.
And they can get on your wireless,
Yeah.
but maybe not your local network.
Exactly.
Or they can get on the internet through your wireless.
You can give them access to whatever you want. If you want to put a folder in there and give them access to like a couple folders or even a hard drive, you can do that and let them download whatever's on your folders. Put some cool indie music on there, or maybe a painting you drew. It's like the worldwide refrigerator that everyone can walk by and see what's on it. That kind of thing. Well, let's just talk about what they're saying here. They're saying that there'll be dozens of networks everywhere, and there's all the companies there that support it. You can see them on the screen. Yes. What logo is that little tree there? It's the Open Garden Foundation. Yes. I didn't know. I haven't heard of them. So the myths and facts. Does opening my wireless network reward freeloaders? They say no way. I'm going to say yes and no, because there's a lot of worthless people out there, and they're just going to leech off of you and not give anything back to the community. That's going to happen. That's not something that's just going to, disappear because everything's open and free. I mean, what do you think? Do you agree with that? There's people who do freeload.
Yeah, if there were open wireless networks everywhere, then there'd be less incentive to get your own internet. But I don't really see that. That's not really that much of a con.
If you're on DSL, it's going to kill you. But I don't think anybody on DSL is going to do this. I mean, it's going to eat up a lot of your bandwidth, and et cetera, et cetera.
Especially with being able to sort of sandbox them and be like, okay, you get 2 megabit.
Give them a little piece, and they can, if they torrent or whatever. We'll get to that in a second. But next up, they're saying, is opening my network's a security risk. And then they have all sorts of different things here, like, there's HTTPS, and you can use the browser plugin HTTPS anywhere. Security risks, I think, are mostly with the user. There's a lot of people who are going to open up their network and not exactly know what they're doing. They're just going to be like, I want it to be free, and then they're going to get in trouble. Yeah. Something's going to happen. So I think that's, do you agree with that? It's largely based on the person setting up the network and how much they know about their hardware.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And how evil your neighbors are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really just, it's really down completely to
it's
how
a human
evil.
element.
Yeah.
Yeah, the human element is very unpredictable. And that's something that a lot of these utopian ideas like this don't take into account. They're great ideas, and if they work, they could change the world, but at the same time, we're freaking people and we're stupid.
If someone's pirating Honey Boo Boo on your open wireless.
Yeah, that's the next thing. Will opening my network make me liable for others' illegal actions? Their answer is, we don't think so. I don't know. That's not a good answer.
No.
We don't think so.
It's a terrible answer.
That's a yes, in my opinion, because it's not a no. If it's not a no, it's a yes.
It shouldn't be.
Exactly.
If your wireless is open and somebody uses it, it should not be. Because
we've already had court cases where someone was on someone else's wireless, and the owner of that network
was held responsible.
Yes.
Yeah. And not only got in trouble, but also held responsible.
So a precedent has been set, and someone's going to have to go against that precedent.
But that's what we need to do, because the genie's out of the bottle with this thing.
Yeah.
And it is completely absurd to tie an IP back to a person.
Right.
And that is absolutely poisonous. And if this is the pill that has to be swallowed to avoid that poison, then so be it.
Yeah, there'll be one sensible judge who looks at this all and is like, this is crazy.
If all 200, 300 million of us are like, yes, we will open our wireless networks, it's going to be a lot better. You're in a lot better position to defend yourself, too, because having encryption and having no encryption, there's a lot closer to one another than most people would care to admit. And if your wireless has a password and somebody breaks in anyway,
which is not that difficult to do these days. It's
no.
a few minutes you can crack WEP, WPA, WPA2.
Yeah, that situation is a lot harder to defend against. It's like, well, I had a password on my wireless. Well, then clearly it's, it was you. You had to do it. It's like,
right.
And then you have to prove that you didn't, which of course you can't do.
And it's also nice that all these organizations are behind this. I mean, you got the EFF who will probably, do something to come to your aid if something was to go wrong. So there's that. The last one was, will opening my wireless network slow down my internet connection? And they've got a whole blurb there that talks about what I just said about setting up a guest network and limiting them. But if you do not set up a guest network and you just give them full bandwidth and someone starts torrenting or starts doing something that requires a lot of bandwidth, streaming HD movies, yeah, it's going to slow down your network connection unless you have like 50 or 100 megabits per second. But if you've got like 10 or 5, or what's the average in America, 5?
Yeah.
If you've got 5, you're done. So you got to like partition something off, make it a guest network, and do that. Make something very small. We're going to make a tutorial. I'll make a tutorial showing you guys how to set up a guest network on your router with a few different models and DDWRT, because we've already done a DDWRT tutorial.
So basically the EFF is saying that the lesser of two evils is just go ahead and open it up.
Yeah,
and
screw them.
It does have all these risks. I mean, there's a ton of risks, but it's better than the absurdity of, this network ties back to an individual.
Yeah, and at least they're being honest with it on their website. They're not trying to sugarcoat it. They're saying, yes, there are ups and downs to this, but if we all do it
does not equal an individual. And anybody that has a lick of technical sense will tell you that.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get some judges who, will come out and help protect that. So there's some more articles about this on the EFF's website, EFF.org. I'll let you guys read those. Links are in the description. Moving right along here. Sharp, they just lost a lot of money, and now they're kind of worried that they may not be able to stay in business.
Which is much worse than their previous loss forecast.
It's like double.
Yeah.
And they're bleeding money right now. Their operating costs, they're bleeding them. I mean, it's just red everywhere. It's kind of sad. I mean, they make a lot of the screens that you see in tablets and that sort of thing. I mean, I don't know.
There are only a few profitable divisions of the company left.
Yeah.
And those will likely spin off into their own units, and the whole rest of everything else will crater.
Okay, let's talk about science, shall we? So scientists have developed some new quote-unquote particles that can self-assemble. This is kind of interesting, kind of in-depth. If we talk about it, we'll get way too into it. But essentially, they've developed these new kinds of particles. They're 1/100th the size of a hair. And these particles, when suspended in a colloid, can join together and form new structures. And the interesting thing about the way they join together is they only join together where the scientists tell them to join together. Like they make like a patch here and a patch here, and they join together that way. Is this making any sense?
No, it's completely insane.
Yeah.
But basically, they can paint something, and by painting something, a nanomaterial inside the paint will organize itself into something useful, like an antenna.
Right, and they can build structures out of this.
Yep.
And they've never been able to do things like this, and they can build structures like they never could before because of the way that they patch them together. It's almost like the way molecules bond. They keep saying that they're making some things that resemble molecules, but this is on a massive scale. 1/100th the size, diameter of a human hair is still like a gazillion times bigger than a molecule. So
basically, instead of putting teeny tiny nanoparticles inside a paint and hoping they line up, they line themselves up.
Yep.
Because of the polarity or whatever.
And they can do even more with this. They can create like a lattice. They said that there may be some developments down the road that are going to improve the speeds of computers, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things that are going on there, but it's interesting to take a look at what they've done because now we can build things that have never been built before. Moving on. This is just mainly for the guys on Reddit. There's a bunch of people on Reddit. Reddit, you can put pictures about anything on there. People's heads falling off, just naked people, whatever you want. You put a picture of a spider on there, everybody freaks the hell out. So they've discovered 9 new tree-loving endangered tarantula species in Brazil. So take a look at these endangered tarantula species, share them on Reddit, get yourself some karma, and thank me later. Get yourself some, actually probably downvotes, right? Yeah,
those are all really terrifying.
Yeah, how do you find 12?
They turned the terrifying up to 11.
Yeah, we're just like hanging out, and all of a sudden these 12 spiders that were new to science just showed up at the campfire, and we're like, hey, tarantulas, what's up? And they're like, hey, we're endangered. That's what happened, I think. I read the article. That's exactly how it happened. Talk about some gaming, shall we? The Halo 4 developers and creators have said that sexist comments will result in a permaban. They're sick of it. They are sick of the childish sexist nonsense. We've been, you know what? We haven't really had many sexist comments, and we've got some game servers. We've got a Chivalry server going on right now, which is a lot of fun. Had DayZ up, and we've got GoldenEye. The girls come in there and play. And the thing that I love about our audience is that they're smart enough that when a girl joins the battle, we'll be hanging out, and you'll hear a girl's voice, and I'll be waiting for like some idiot to say like, "Why aren't you in the kitchen? Why, Beard? What are you doing? You can't play games." Nothing. You guys are awesome. Nothing. It's just like we're all people. I was like, oh my God, we're all people. So anyway, if you look at the Xbox Live Code of Conduct and the terms of service and all that, there, no hate speech and that sort of thing. But nothing that's. They basically have like some rules, but Sexist speech is not directly outlined. They're going to permaban people, and I think that's pretty cool. You just have to cut them out, and that's the way it works. Call of Duty was the number one game to play on Xbox Live. Now it's Minecraft. It just recently beat Call of Duty as the number one game on Xbox Live. Minecraft. So you guys can talk about that.
I believe it. Minecraft is super addictive.
Yeah, and I just didn't think it was going to spread like this.
The general population likes things like that.
No, they don't. They like explosions and dubstep. Everyone knows that. Speaking of explosions and dubstep, EA posted a $381 million loss.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
They're still running around. I said this like several episodes ago. They're running around going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What's happening? Oh, the world is changing. No.
You can only delete. You can only treat your developers like lab rats for so long.
Yeah.
What with the whole upswing in at least in the tech sector, the upswing of people that are needed with technical skills, they're leaving in droves.
We met some developers at PAX, and one of the guys came from EA, and I was like, well, what do you think about the differences in working in independent world versus working at EA? And he's like, well, I get to wear a lot of different hats now, and some of those hats don't fit quite right and all that stuff, but man, they were beating us with sticks. That's basically what he said. He's like,
those are all the stories that I've gotten to.
He's like, I'm working harder now because I'm working in so many different areas, but I'm working on my own projects. They're creative, they're interesting. And he's like, the idea that I have, I could never go to EA and tell them that idea. They would slap me in the face. They'd be either, are there angry birds involved? Is there explosions? Or is there dubstep? Get out of my face. Why are you in my office? That's what it would have been. So he's getting to be creative, and I think that's really cool. But, yeah, they're trying to do more online things over at EA. I don't care if they go away. I don't know.
Ultimate Farmville.
And Origin's really working out, so that's good. Everybody loves Origin.
Yeah. No, that's not working out at all.
Drew Bliss, at a recent event, a developer summit in Denmark, said that BoonTo was a more viable gaming platform than Windows 8.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I guess they're really upset about the whole Windows 8 marketplace, but I mean, really, you can get to the desktop on Windows 8 if you have the desktop version. You can get there and you can install Steam. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. They're making it out to be like the end of the world. A lot of these developers are. People are still going to use Steam. I'm still going to use Steam. I'm not going to be downloading a bunch of crap from the App Store, but I mean, it may hurt their bottom line a little bit. But BoonTo already has an App Store as well.
The Linux driver curve is a couple years behind too, which really upsets me.
Yeah, they're saying that he did say that they're getting really good support here. He said Linux, everything's good to go. He said you got OpenGL, Pulse Audio, OpenAL, and good input support. So they said from that standpoint, they're good to go, and all the future Source Engine games will be coming out for Linux. Okay, last thing I want to talk about today, I'm going to recommend a documentary called Bitter Seeds. This company's made a few documentaries already. This one in particular is about the impact of global farm community or the globalization of the corporate farming world. Most of it's led by Monsanto. You guys should take a look at it. Right now, due to a lot of things that are happening with this, one farmer in India kills himself every 30 minutes. That's how bad it's getting. It's pretty much destroying the farm infrastructure of the world, and it's something that you guys should be aware of. These things are happening. So check it out. I mean, it's not hardware, it's not technology, but I find that our audience seems to like to know these things. So it's out there. It's new.
I enjoy food, therefore it's important.
Yes, if you guys enjoy food, real food. I mean, Monsanto, they're the company, if you're living under a rock, they're the company that patented seeds. They made their own version of seeds, and they do Roundup, they do NutraSweet, or whatever it is, or Sweet and Low, or whatever the hell. They also made Agent Orange that melted people's fucking skin. Yeah, you remember them?
Yeah, you're not allowed to, you grow corn from Monsanto seeds. You can't save your own seeds.
Right. That's the idea. They want you to rebuy the seeds every year. And if the wind blows the seeds across a fence to, Bob's field over there that, doesn't work with Monsanto, but the wind blew a seed over there, they send people out to, take samples and find out if that crop is Monsanto's patented crop. And then they sue that farmer and put him out of business unless he starts buying their seeds. So this is what's going on a global scale, and it's pretty freaking scary. Monsanto. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. Got a bit of a headache, sorry I'm a little bit off right now, but hope everybody had a good Samhain.
Send us hardware.
Yeah, send us stuff to review. Thanks everybody for chipping in. You guys are helping a lot. We're gonna put up a wanted poster in a minute. We had a break-in this week. I lost my bag and my phone and my Dungeons and Dragons dice. All I have left are a few up here. It was bad. So yeah, we'll catch that bastard. We will. They better catch him. Anyway, send questions to inbox@techsyndicate.com, and that's all I got today. I'm gonna go take a nap in the roof.